Welcome everybody, IAmAMusicNerd here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about one of rock music's most beloved and most hated genres, emo punk music. I'm going to be talking about the evolution, the history, and the massive popularity that the genre had in the mid-2000s when I was a kid. Before I get into it, if you enjoy the content of this channel and you want to spread the support, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button down below. It's very important. If you're a return subscriber, hit the notification bell to be alerted for new content. Let's get into the video. In 1966, the Beach Boys released their album Pet Sounds. Many music journalists have claimed that this is the first ever emo rock album. Brian Wilson, the main visionary behind the album, wanted to create a collection of songs that were relatable to all adolescents. At the time, Pet Sounds was not as popular or revered as it is today. Bands such as Weezer and Dashboard Confessional, who would follow the same emo template, were greatly influenced by this album. But it wasn't until decades later when emo rock properly began. It had its roots in the 1980s hardcore punk scene in Washington, D.C. The band Rites of Spring is widely considered to be the first innovative emo band. They mixed melodic guitars, a punk rock sound, with deeply emotional lyrics. Many of the band's themes dealt with nostalgia and romantic bitterness and longing that become familiar tropes in emo music. The word emo, which is short for emotional, didn't get coined until the mid-1980s. Famed rock author Mike Azerrad stated, "The style was dubbed emo core, a term that everyone involved in the scene openly hated. And the emo core label quickly spread throughout the punk scene, and its ideals and aesthetics quickly spread throughout the country through homemade zines, vinyl records, and word of mouth." No longer just a local punk scene rooted in Washington, D.C., many bands around the country started to take part in emo punk and emulate its style. They stripped away much of the abrasive, polarizing ultra machismo of hardcore, and instead infused it with a more honest and sensitive approach. One of those bands was Sunny Day Real Estate. Sunny Day Real Estate only received minor success. However, by redefining the emo genre, they pushed it closer to the mainstream. When they released their debut album Diary, it received critical acclaim and was one of the first times the emo band got heavy exposure on MTV. Soon, emo bands were accessing the national stage as punk culture became mainstream again, thanks to Green Day's album Dookie, released in 1994. That same year, Weezer released their self-titled debut to commercial success. Their Beach Boys influenced pop sensibilities mixed with emo-tinged lyrics made them both openly praised and reviled in the emo scene. They took this a step further with their second album Pinkerton, released in 1996, but consciously featured more emo lyrics, a more abrasive sound, and darker subject matter. At the time of its release, both the critics and the public openly detested and ridiculed this album. But as a new generation of emo bands developed and got popular, Pinkerton suddenly gained respect, as a lot of these bands openly admitted that this album was a great influence to their sound and lyricism. By the 2000s, emo punk expanded even more, splintering into more subgenres such as screamo that still embraced the heavier and hardcore side of emo punk. Indie label Vagrant Records signed several successful emo bands in the late 1990s and 2000s. In 2001, they decided to organize a national tour with every band on its label. Due to word of mouth and internet marketing, Vagrant became one of the most successful indie labels in the country, and it helped popularize the emo subculture. The fashion of emo started to break into the mainstream as well, as many teenagers adopted the look of short black hair, black eyeliner, and thrift store clothes. Although it was openly mocked by many of its detractors, including myself, the fans of the scene didn't care and started to adopt the us versus the world mentality. By 2003, the New York Times reported that most of the new exciting rock music was coming from the emo genre. Now nu metal was running out of steam, and rock fans needed a new genre to clamor to. That's how emo punk exploded. The internet also had a huge part in blowing up emo music, as dedicated fans would form music forums, and its fans could get together to talk about the music and go on tours together. In the wake of the success, many emo bands were signed to major labels, and the genre became very marketable. Emo albums started to go multi-platinum for the first time ever. The label fueled by Ramen developed and signed many emo bands, such as Paramore, Panic at the Disco, and Fall Out Boy, who all go on to be three of the most successful rock bands of the 21st century. With all this success came the immediate media backlash. This meant that emo took a negative connotation. Bands who weren't exactly emo, but were labeled as such, had to pay the unfair price of wide scorn. By the end of the decade, some fans and even the bands were disassociating themselves from the emo label. Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance stated, "I think emo is fucking garbage. It's bullshit. I think there's bands that we unfortunately get lumped in with that are considered emo, and by default that starts to make us emo. Teenagers who had grew up with the genre were now resorting as to just a phase, like it was part of an embarrassing ritual of puberty or something." But despite all this, emo's rise to popularity is a fascinating one, and one that can only have happened at that time. These days, it has expanded into hip-hop and trap music, with the term emo rap being popular in the past few years. From the depths of the underground in Washington DC, to the sunny West Coast pop reinvention in the 1990s, to its dominance of pop and rock radio in the 2000s. The music provided an outlet for outsiders to express their emotions and vulnerability unheard of in rock music, and it gave its fans a sense of unity and belonging. Thanks guys for watching this video. As always, till next time, peace.